Hey guys, this is a video titled The Path of Least Resistance, basically a review of the GH5 and how it's basically one of my most favorite cameras that I've ever used. So the reason why I went to the GH5, my first camera, well, I started out with the camcorders. So I've been into cameras for a very long time, but I was basically a commercial editor for a couple of years, and I got a job where I had to do video recording like in 2020. And so color grading was a new thing and everything like that. And what was highly talked about was the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, because it shoots in ProRes. There's a lot of grading you can do with this footage. And it's also all manual, so it really got me back into the basics of camera work again. But before that, I was using camcorders, and this is the big Sony EX1, which I used for a few professional shoots, a lot of training videos, promo videos, and things like that. And this is an incredible camera. Still looks absolutely beautiful to this day. There's a video on this channel called a boxing promo with the EX1. I still use this camera occasionally for some specialty shoots. It's only 1080p, doesn't have 50 frames per second, doesn't have 4K or anything like that. You can slow it down, but it goes to 720p, so I just stay away from that. And so I just got this on eBay for about just over $1,000. I ended up getting two of these cameras, and it's my favorite sensor, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. It's a micro four thirds mount, and I got a 12 to 35 Lumix lens, and I just used this. I used it for a short film. I used it for heaps of things. It's my favorite sensor, but I would not recommend using this camera for professional shoots. I wouldn't even recommend getting it now because you can get the GH5 a lot cheaper, but it is still my favorite sensor out of all the cameras I've ever used. It's just so beautiful. Very problematic camera. As you can see, it's rigged out, so I have to mount a battery on it that uses an NPF Sony battery and hooked up onto here. The rear screen, you can barely see it in daytime. Everything's manual about it as well, which is fine. I'm used to that. So you have to dial in your white balance. Everything's manual focus, but the battery is so poor. You have to get an external battery. I can't see anything on the screen, and it's just so much to put on the battery and going, okay, is it going to be a bright day, that I use this camera less and less. Like if I was if I was to make a short film again, I would definitely still use this because I love the image quality so much. But the GH5 I bought because I was getting so many inquiries that I wanted to bring a reliable camera to a photo shoot. So I've shot two weddings on this now, heaps and heaps of promo videos through boxing, as you've seen here. I've done this a lot. I've used this a lot for work, for client stories, promos and things like that. So I've used this professionally quite a bit, and I've also used this for stills quite a bit. It's the best camera I've ever used, and it's the path of least resistance because right out of the box, you don't need a cage. It's really small as well. The battery life is great. It's got a wonderful LCD screen. It's got a wonderful menu system. It's got an EVF if you can't see what you're shooting. It is absolutely a fantastic camera, and because there's not many blocks in the way to getting this out, like literally I just grab my bag with this camera and I'm shooting. Because it's the path of least resistance, it's a camera I'm using more, and the more you use your camera, the more you're out there shooting, you get better. You get better and better and better. And that's why the GH5 is such a great camera, because you don't need to rig it out. You don't need an external monitor. You don't need external things for batteries or anything like that. It works as long as you have a lens. It works right out of the box, and you can you're underway shooting. It's got great image stabilization. The image quality looks beautiful. You have to pay for Vlog. And I'll just start off right away with the negatives of this camera, is that it does it's the autofocus is very poor on this for video. In fact, I've never used it because the reviews are so negative against it, and because immediately when I bought this, I was doing professional stuff like right away. I just kept it on manual. I've just always gone back to, which I'm used to from my EX1. The autofocus on this is garbage, so I'm quite used to manual. So I've been. You have to shoot in manual. Don't rely on autofocus because the autofocus is terrible. But where this camera falls apart is the low light. The low light abilities of this camera is very, very poor. I have since purchased a GH5S, which I don't have with me at the moment. So the main driving force of my production company, or my production company, I guess you say, is the GH5 and the GH5S. And the GH5S, it doesn't have image stabilization, but it has only 10 megapixels or something like that. But that means it can, whereas this has 20 megapixels. But what that means is it can be used in low light a lot better. It's a real good camera in low light, the GH5S. And because it doesn't have image stabilization, that handheld look is really amplified, which is really good for boxing. So the GH5S has been like the main camera now that I use for boxing. But the GH5 shoots really good photos. I've just done a video on my photo book that I just made on the boxing gym. It's unbelievable, the image quality you can get out of this for photos. Do not underestimate how good this camera can be for photos. And it's terrific, absolutely terrific for video. Shooting the wedding and everything like that is, it turned out really, really well. But yeah, I've because I shoot so many photos, I've just recently purchased a GX9 to really relieve all the photographic duties that this camera was doing. This camera was doing a lot of photos, so I didn't want to bring this out because this is my money maker. I didn't want to start doing street photography with my GX9. Oh, sorry, with my GH5. If I dropped it, that's that's my main income sort of damaged. The GX9 is much smaller. It's great for street photography because it has this wonderful flip-out screen that's vertical, that's all in line. Just a really phenomenal and easy camera to use, the GX9. And I often use these for photography shoots. This is my main, the GH5, and then the GX9 just with the 15 on it as my long shot sort of establishing sort of photographic camera. So I got two. This doesn't have dual memory card, so it's not great for professional use, but awesome for hobby photos and everything like that. Again, the path of least resistance, right out of the box, put a lens on it. The battery life is great. I've got 6 spare batteries, but right out of the box, you can just start shooting and making professional videos right away and start making money right away with this camera. And the more you shoot with it, because you're less inclined to go, oh, I got to rig it out, I got to put the external monitor on it, I got to get the external battery on it, like with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. I'm more inclined just to take this with me and just start shooting. And the more I'm shooting, the better I get. It's actually fun just to grab one bag and this camera and I'm shooting. You know what I mean? And every project I make, again, I'm getting better and better. Oh, the other downside with it is it doesn't come with Vlog right away, so you have to upgrade with it. It's the most archaic thing you'll ever do, where you have to pay for this code, and they send you the code, and you put in the code, and you've unlocked Vlog on this camera. It's so silly. But yeah, I wasn't happy originally with the image quality. I still don't think it's as good as the Blackmagic Pocket camera. I still think this is better. But where this camera falters, I was shooting Vlog or even shooting natural, and the skin tones get a bit reddish and pinkish, which you can fix in color correction. But what I do is I shoot with Buttery LUTs by Matteo Battelli. He's a fantastic cinematographer, but he has these LUTs that just... He tries to make it more in line with Ari. Now, it's not going to look like an Ari Alexa, but the point is, it's like a base for me. Like, all the skin tones look beautiful. Everything looks fantastic. And I just do minimal color correction from there. So I highly advise, if you are going to go down the Vlog route, go Matteo Battelli's Buttery LUTs. It'll cost you about $30 American, which is about $50 Australian, maybe a bit more than that, maybe a bit less than that, but it's absolutely worth it getting that LUT. But the downside is you always have to shoot in Vlog. But yeah, I just shoot in Vlog, and this camera is so feature packed. Like, it's got shutter angle, it's got really good features like peaking and everything like that to help you with video. You'll be surprised how many hybrid cameras just don't, like even the great Sony FX cameras, they don't even have shutter angle or those cinema, like they market themselves as this cinema line camera, yet they don't offer, these cinema features, these video guide features that are common in like the old these cameras here, which just helps so much, like peaking, and you can load the LUT. So I've loaded the buttery LUTs onto this, which just helps to see okay, that's what it's going to look like in the end. So absolutely phenomenal. I'm done with the bigger cameras like the X1. The Z90 was like half the size of this, so the Z90 was great, but I just like smaller cameras. You become more in line with the photographer. If you look, photographers have always been ahead of videographers in the sense of like what they bring to the shoot is becoming less and less. Like before, I remember seeing guys with their own photo backdrops. They're all these strobe setups, and they'd actually have to bring in, like in a wedding, they'd have to actually bring the couple to the side and shoot these shots with strobes and a backdrop. But that's all gone now because flash is good. The cameras are so good in low light. The autofocus is fantastic, and you look at the what the photographers are carrying. It's just like that strap with the two cameras hooked up to it, so it looks like a Wild West. They look like like I think they call it the sling, the shooter sling, or something like that. And they have two cameras. You're gonna see videographers going the same way because before, the videographer would have to bring in a big camera like this. They'd have to bring in a monopod. They'd have to bring in, a gimbal, a slider, just to get those cinematic shots. And the stabilization since the GH5 has just gotten better and better. Like, camera companies are finally catching up to how good the stabilization was in the GH5. And I just come to shoots now with my bag and two cameras, the GH5 and the GH5S, and then that's it. I'm just shooting all day with them two. I don't need to bring a tripod unless it's an interview thing. Then I'll lock off the camera on a tripod, or if it's a ceremony and I need a backup camera, yeah, sure, I'll put it on a tripod in the background. But otherwise, I'm running around just with this in my hand. I don't need a monopod. I don't need my gimbal. I don't need my slider. I still do use the gimbal, by the way. But the GH5 has really brought it in line more with the photographer, and just this awesome size of it. And I love Micro Four Thirds. I don't think I'll ever leave the format because the lenses are so small. They're not massive. Like the 70-200 for this is just like a little bit bigger than this. Like, it's about up to there, and that's just absolutely incredible. Again, the path of least resistance. You're more inclined to grab the camera with the 70-200 and go out shooting than you are with a full frame, because the full frame, you need a whole bag just for that 70-200 lens. Like just this here, I'm ready to go. And again, the more you shoot, the better you get. And definitely the GH5, since buying this, I'm upwards of 3 years now shooting with this camera. I'm just getting better and better and better. Like, every project that I'm doing, I'm just practicing and making things. I'm just getting that trigger time all the time with it. And it takes phenomenal photos, takes phenomenal video. The Micro Four Thirds system is excellent. For the future, like, I am shooting a lot of photos, so I was thinking of getting a G9 because it's so cheap, and I could just have that as the main camera for photos, and then the GH5 as my backup. Or I was thinking of going the GH6, and because that's such a great photo camera as well. Like, it shoots really, really good photos, better than the G9, and has faster autofocus, all the bells and whistles. But because I shoot a lot of sports, it'll look better at high frame rates with that 120 frames per second at 10-bit. Which I think will look absolutely phenomenal. So how I set up this camera, I actually don't deliver anymore in 4K. I shoot interviews 4K 10-bit all intra for Custom One. So, and that's because I can reframe it. So I shoot the interviews long at 4K 10-bit all intra, so it can give me good color grading, or if it's with a green screen, I can manipulate the green screen. So that 10-bit all intra is pretty important for me. I find the image quality a lot better shooting at all Intra. It means though you have to get the V90 memory cards if you want to shoot in 4K 10-bit all Intra, and they're pretty expensive. They're like $200 each. And then custom 2, I got set at 1080 50 frames per second 10-bit all Intra. And that's what I'm on pretty much 99% of the day or 95% of the day. And you can shoot with that all Intra 10-bit 1080p with a V30 memory card, so you don't have to go too expensive there. But I just find I've never had a client, and I've shot a lot of stuff, I've never had a client ask for 4K, so I just started shooting in 1080 just to get that 10-bit all Intra, and to me it looks way better. It looks absolutely phenomenal. So that's what I'm on all the time. And then I got custom 3 set to the 180 frames per second variable. But to be honest, I hardly ever use that. So if I was to get a GH6, I would probably just keep it on 120 frames per second all Intra. But to be honest, the GH5 is more than enough for me. I'm getting so much work out of this camera. It's so reliable. It shoots fantastic photos, fantastic image quality, and what the recipe is, what clients want is they want good talking heads, so get good at lighting people talking to the camera with custom 1, and then all it is slow motion B-roll. So if you can get used to that format, you're going to get people asking for you, asking for you to shoot things and everything like that. But I think what's leveled me up is just because this camera's so easy to take out. Like, I'm willing to go, I'll go shoot at the gym today. I'll just grab one bag, one lens, and I'm making a project. So, and what you get out of this small box and this lens, absolutely incredible. The path of least resistance, a GH5. I highly recommend this camera. It's the best camera I've ever used.